Hello and welcome back to the Property Legacy podcast. And today's episode, we are talking all about the rental crisis.
hmm
If you're not sure what we're talking about, we're going to start this episode with a few stats.
In 2025, the UK is a crisis as far as rental property for both landlords and tenants. In some areas of the country, the average rental per month has hit £1,300 on average per month, which has increased by nearly 8% over the last 12 months.
And for London, the average percentage increase is 11.6%, pushing rental incomes all the way up to £2,000 plus. So that is a huge jump, and it affects everywhere all over the UK, not just here in the north, not just up in London. So it's a really important thing that we need to educate and have discussions about, because as somebody, if you're looking to invest in property or if you've already got properties, we need to know the best way to take advantage of this rental crisis and how to do it ethically in a way that benefits your tenants and also yourself as a landlord. Okay, so you'll know a lot more about this than me.
hmm
What is the current crisis that we're in at the moment when it comes to renting?
So at the moment, with the rental reforms coming in and the fact that the government is not allowing people who own the properties in their own name to put their mortgage interest against the tax. It means that it's not really working out as profitable for them, and they may have fallen into the trap of not putting the rents up as they've been going along. So that means now that we've got a lot of landlords selling up and coming out of buy-to-lets, which then means there's not enough properties to let. There's not enough properties for the amount of people that need properties.
So, as somebody from the outside, this sounds like a good thing. Like you can get a house, you can buy a house, and you can rent it out. But you run the risk then as well of how do you vet your tenants? How do you?
Yeah. So because a lot of people are going to be evicted so that they can sell the properties, you don't know whether that's been evicted because of they were a bad tenant or whether it's just the fact that they were selling the property. There's no way of knowing. And that's the issue with Section 21. At the moment, it's still legal to use. When the renters reform comes in, you won't be able to do that. So at least when the renters reform comes in, if somebody's evicted, it'd be for a particular reason.
Yeah.
So you can be a lot more wary about it. But at the moment, it means that there's not enough properties. So it's putting the rents up, and majority of the people out there can't afford to rent. Even if they're on benefits, even if they're on get jobs, it's getting to the point now where if you're in city centres, if you're in different areas of the country, then your rent is going to be 40 or 50% of your income.
And with the lack of properties that we've got, how I know obviously there are goals with building houses every year.
Yeah.
So what is the situation? Because surely, you know, it would be silly to not notice all the new build houses that are going up,
Yeah.
all of the time.
The problem is, for the last 2 decades, every government we've had has set a goal for new builds to get more and more properties built. But we've never ever hit it.
Mm.
So every year the population grows, and every year the same target has been the same for the last decade or so. Last year, the Labour government reduced the target so they had more chance of hitting it. But unfortunately, at the same time, they increased the complexity of the planning department, which means that developers are still struggling to actually develop. So yes, we're seeing properties getting built everywhere, but nowhere near the 300 to 500,000 we need to build every single year, and we should have been building that for the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
So that's why, yes, there's lots getting built, but if you think about a housing estate's got 200 houses on it, it looks quite big, but it's only 200 houses. We need 500,000
Yeah.
every year.
And that is a massive, massive difference.
It's a huge difference. So we've always got a shortage, which means that buying properties as an investment structure is always going to be a good thing,
Yeah.
because the value is always going to go up. The need for property will always be there.
So let's try and flip this and make a positive out of the situation. What are the positives if you are somebody that is a landlord or is wanting to become a landlord?
So at this moment in time, we're still officially in a recession as far as property is concerned. A lot of areas around the country, especially the north, are very cheap compared to the rest of the country. And the yields that you can get in those areas are 10 to 13%. So some areas of Liverpool, even the northwest and the northeast, are all 10% plus. Whereas Manchester is 7 or 8%, Birmingham's about 5 or 6, and London's 3 or 4, if that. So it's a good area in the north to actually get involved with property because you can buy it with a 25% deposit. So if it's a lot less to buy, it's a lot less deposit, so you can buy more properties.
It isn't just about landlords or property investors. How can we flip this as a positive for tenants? What advice do they need to hear at this moment in time?
So at this moment in time, you're going to have to shop around as much as possible. There are some associations and some landlords that will just rent their properties out for the LHA rates, which are clearly defined by all the councils around the country. But the problem with that is it restricts the amount of profit for those landlords, and it also means that with the high interest rates that have been coming around, the selective licensing, it means it's driving those kind of costs up. So for tenants, you're going to have to make sure that you can try and set aside your income, 30 to 40% of your income for just your rent. And that's got to be your biggest priority, get the rent paid. After that, then at least you've got a secure roof over your head. And with the rental reform coming in, if anything goes wrong or if anything happens, that you've got more protection actually in a property. Um, but at this moment in time, there's a lot of tenants that are prospective tenants that are effectively homeless, living in friends' houses on sofas and that type of thing.
So, advice for landlords that have currently got homes that may potentially be going back onto market for new tenants. What's the advice that we can give?
So with all vacant properties, what we want is landlords to be renovating them to make sure they're a really good standard before a new tenant comes in. That helps landlords because a tenant will see that it's all nice, all clean, all nicely decorated, and there's more chance of them looking after it than if it was tired and tacky and people are drawn on the walls and not being dealt with, or if there was blown units on the windows. It just means then that somebody won't look after it as much. If the landlord's not going to look after it, the tenant isn't. So from a landlord's point of view, make the tenant just as much of the deal and make them happy to make that house their home. And that's exactly what you want it to be. You want it to be their home, not just somewhere they're renting.
So, the biggest advice overall would be to get proactive regardless of where you fit into the situation, whatever role you play, whether it's the role of a tenant, an investor, a landlord. It's really important to make sure that you're informed about what is going on around you, what is going on currently in the property world, and that's exactly why we want to talk about these things and make people more aware, because a lot of the time everything changes quite quickly, and if you're
Mm.
not kept up to speed with what's going on, all of a sudden you can get yourself into difficult situations that you don't know how you've managed to get yourself into.
Hmm. Yeah, so you need to keep on top of whether your council is doing selective licensing because they think that they tell everybody, but what they actually do is just put it on a website and don't tell anybody at all. So unless you're monitoring their website, you're never going to know there's selective licensing. Majority of the people with property in the Blackpool area don't realise that the FY1 postcode is going to be a selective license. It started on April the 1st this year. So landlords need to get moving. They've got until the end of June to get their license started to receive a reduction in the cost. But there is high standards of what the council expects of those properties, and the enforcement officers will be inspecting those properties over the next 5 years. This also happens in Liverpool and lots of areas around the country. So just be aware of that. If you're buying a property, make sure you understand that if it does fall into that, that you can then either take over the license, or it may be that there's no license at all just yet. And then on the back of this, in 2028, we need to start looking at making sure all EPCs are at C or above. So if you're renovating your property, start doing that now, because if you do a bit over the next couple of years, it's not going to be as painful in the end. Unfortunately, this is all going to put rents up, so it doesn't really help tenants at all. But from a tenant's point of view, keep on top of local information. If your council has a database of all the good landlords and properties, then use that so you know you're getting a good deal. But make sure that if you have problems, that you deal with them quickly and don't let them sit there and get worse.
Thank you so much for tuning into Property Legacy, the podcast. We hope you found some enlightening information from today's episode.
If you want to know more about us, then contact us through our website on propertylegacypodcast.co.uk. You can also find more information down below this video. We're on Spotify and Apple podcast. And also, if you look in the description below, you can see that you can join our free membership to learn more all about us.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.